She was left in the dust, but one. Humans stopped walking. The wind was cold. Dust blew over broken metal and black stone. The battlefield was silent now. Smoke rose in the distance. Dead machines, burned armor, and shattered weapons lay across the ground like forgotten toys. She lay in the middle of it all. The alien girl's skin was pale purple, marked with faint glowing lines that flickered weakly. Her eyes, once bright, stared at the gray sky. Her body didn't move. One leg was twisted. Her arms were covered in dirt and blood. Her name was Sayela, but no one called her that anymore. Her people had left her behind. They walked past her when the fighting ended. One by one, they turned away. Some looked at her and shook their heads. One said, "She's no use now." Another said, "Let the wind take her." They spoke in their cold alien tongue. Then they left. Now, only silence remained. Sayela blinked once. Her lips were dry. Her body ached. She tried to speak, but her voice was too soft. She had no strength. The machines above didn't see her. The war moved on without her. She was broken, forgotten, dying. But then, she heard something. Footsteps. Heavy boots crunched the gravel and dust. Slow, careful, not loud like a squad, just one set. Not alien steps, different. She knew the sound from old battles. A human. Her breath caught. She tried to move her hand just a little. Maybe she could reach a weapon. Maybe he would shoot. Maybe this would be the end. The steps stopped near her. She shut her eyes. Nothing happened. Then a shadow fell over her face. Warm. She opened her eyes and saw a figure kneeling beside her. Not in armor. Not holding a weapon. He looked at her with calm eyes. His name was Eli. He was a scout from a broken human unit. His ship had crashed nearby. He had lost contact with his team. He had nothing left but a small pack and an old pistol. He had seen the flashes of battle and came to check for survivors, or supplies. But he hadn't expected to find her. He studied the alien girl. She was breathing, but barely. Her wounds looked bad. Her kind didn't usually leave one of their own behind. "Hey," he said quietly. She didn't answer. Eli looked around. No one was coming. No drones. No enemy signals. He reached into his pack and took out a water pouch. Slowly, he held it to her lips. She blinked at him, confused. Still afraid. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said. His voice was low, steady. "Drink." Sayela didn't understand every word, but his tone was soft. Not like a soldier. Not like the others. Her lips touched the water. It was cold. Sharp. She drank. Eli let her sip slowly. Then he pulled off his jacket and laid it over her broken leg. He didn't know how to treat her injuries, but she was freezing. She stared at him, weak and quiet. She tried to speak, but only a whisper came out. "Why?" He tilted his head. "Why what? Why didn't you leave?" Eli paused. The wind moved past them. Dust danced between the ruins. He looked at her for a long moment. "Because," he said, "I know what it feels like." She blinked. He sat down beside her, careful not to startle her. He placed his pistol on the ground where she could see it. "A sign of trust. I lost my squad 3 days ago," he said. "Ship went down. I walked through fire and ash. My own people don't know I'm still alive." He looked at her again. "I guess you and I have something in common now." Sayela didn't reply. Her eyes filled with quiet confusion. And something else. Something small. Hope. Eli gently picked her up. She was light, but her body trembled in pain. He wrapped his arms around her, holding her steady. "We'll find shelter," he said. "You're not dying out here, not today." As he walked away from the battlefield, carrying the girl who had been left behind, the wind blew harder behind them. The galaxy didn't know it yet, but something had changed. For the first time in her life, Scylla felt something she had never known. She wasn't alone, and the human who stayed was just getting started. They called her useless, but he called her worth saving. The cave was cold and dark. Wind howled outside, sweeping dust into the narrow cracks between the rocks. But inside, there was stillness. Only the sound of slow breathing broke the silence. Scylla lay near the fire Eli had made. Her leg was wrapped in cloth, her arms were bruised. Her face was pale, lit softly by the orange glow. She was no longer on the battlefield, but the pain followed her. Every small movement hurt. But what hurt more was the memory, the faces of her own people, turning away, calling her names, defect, useless, unfit for war. She had trained with them, bled with them, dreamed of being chosen for the honor squads. But when she froze during the last mission, when she failed to launch her bioshield in time, they marked her a failure and left her. The fire cracked. Scylla flinched across the cave. Eli sat on a stone. His old jacket was off, revealing the scratches on his arm. He was fixing a small field transmitter. The device was damaged, barely working. He'd been trying to get a signal out for 2 nights. So far, nothing. No one was looking for him, and no one was looking for her. She watched him silently. Why was he still here? She didn't understand. He had no reason to help her. He didn't even know her name when he first found her. He could have walked past like everyone else, but he didn't. He stayed. Eli noticed her eyes on him and gave a small nod. "You're awake." Scylla blinked once. Her voice was still weak. "Why? Do you help me?" Eli paused. He set the transmitter down and stood slowly, walking over to her side. He crouched beside her and checked the cloth around her leg. "Because you're alive," he said simply. "And alive means worth saving." She stared at him. "Not to my people." He smiled sadly. "Maybe they're wrong." She turned her face away. Her fingers trembled. No one had ever said that before. "You're healing," Eli said. "That's a good sign." "I don't heal like others," Scylla whispered. "My blood is slow, my body weak. They said I was broken." Eli looked at her for a moment. "You made it through that battlefield. That's not weak. They carried me through training. I failed the jump trials. I was always last." He didn't speak for a while. Then he leaned closer. "I had a brother," he said quietly. "Back on Earth. People called him slow. Said he'd never make it, but he tried harder than anyone. You know what he became?" She shook her head. "A rescue pilot. Saved 30 lives before a crash took him." Eli's eyes were distant. "Weak doesn't mean worthless." Scylla swallowed hard. She didn't know what to say. Her mind spun with emotions she didn't recognize. Shame. Relief. Fear. Then, a sound. A low, static ping from outside. Eli stood at once and moved to the cave entrance. He picked up his old binoculars and peered through the crack in the rocks. A patrol drone. Alien. Her people's tech. Flying low. "Searching? They're close," Eli said. Scylla sat up, wincing in pain. "If they see you with me, they'll kill you." Eli looked back at her. "Then we don't let them see." He grabbed his pack, slung it over his shoulder, and stepped toward her. "You can't walk yet. I'll carry you again." "No," she said, pushing herself up. I can try." He hesitated. "You sure?" She nodded, teeth clenched. He offered his hand. She stared at it. The same hand that lifted her from the dirt. The same hand that gave her water, warmth, protection. This time she took it without fear. She stood, shaking, but stood. Eli smiled. "Good." They moved deeper into the cave system, away from the light. The rocks narrowed. Their footsteps echoed softly. Behind them, the drone buzzed past the opening but didn't enter. After an hour, they reached an old shelter. Hidden. Abandoned. Inside, Eli laid out gear, set a small defense node, and helped her lie down again. Then he pulled a silver coin from his pocket. A strange symbol was carved on one side. Sayala watched curiously. "What is that?" she asked. "A marker," he said. "For people who don't give up." He placed the coin beside her. "You can keep it." She picked it up carefully. Her fingers brushed the edge. She looked up at him. "You think I'm not useless?" Eli met her eyes. "I think you're stronger than you know." The moment stretched between them, then another sound, a louder one, not a drone, a ship, coming fast. Eli grabbed his gear. "That's not your people. That's worse." "Who?" she asked, fear returning. "Hunters," he said. "Mercenaries. They track biosigns. They don't care who you are." Sayla's heart pounded. Eli looked back at her. "We run, or we fight." She nodded. "I fight." Her people wanted her dead. He wanted her to live. The night sky above the canyon burned with fire trails. Sayla's heart raced as red lights flickered across the dark clouds. She crouched behind a jagged rock, her broken leg braced with old metal, strips Eli had strapped together. The pain was sharp, but she didn't show it, not now, not when death was closing in. Beside her, Eli checked the old blaster he had recharged using spare cells from a drone they had torn apart. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp, scanning the horizon. "They're not patrol drones," he said quietly. "Those are hunter ships." Sayla swallowed. "They don't take prisoners." "I know," he replied. In the distance, a loud thunk echoed, then a rising metallic scream. A hunter ship landed with violent force. Its legs slammed down on the cracked ground. The door hissed open, steam spilling into the cold air. Sayala grabbed Eli's arm. "They're here for me." "Why?" he asked, lowering his voice. "They marked me," she whispered. "My own people, I'm a defect. They fear what I might say or what I might become if I survive." Eli stared at her. "So they want to erase you?" She nodded. "They'd rather destroy me than let me live with you." A long silence. Eli slowly stood up, keeping his body low as he peered over the rock. "Then they'll have to go through me first." Sayla blinked, surprised. "You'd stand against them? Even my kind?" He glanced at her, a faint smile on his face. "You think I came all this way just to hand you over?" Her throat tightened. For a second the fear faded, and something else filled her chest. Something she didn't know how to name. But the ground shook again. Boots slammed down in perfect rhythm. 6 tall armored hunters moved in a line. Their armor was black and gold. No faces, no voices, just death machines trained to kill. One of them held a scanner. It pulsed red. Sayla's breath stopped. "They've locked on." Eli moved. Fast, he grabbed her hand, back into the tunnel. They ran, Sayla limping, Eli guiding her forward. A blast ripped through the cave mouth behind them, throwing stone everywhere. The tunnel lit up with fire. Eli turned, shielding her with his body as rocks rained down. Then he fired once, twice, striking. One hunter in the shoulder, the shot barely slowed it. "We need distance," he shouted. "Keep moving." Sayla gritted her teeth. "There's a shaft ahead, steep drop they won't follow." "Then that's where we go." They slid down a slope of stone, tumbling into the lower ruins of what was once a listening post from an old war. Ancient human tech sparked faintly. In the walls, the air smelled like dust and static. They crouched behind a rusted metal door, for now the hunters were not in sight. Sayla leaned back, trying to catch her breath. Blood trickled down her leg. She reached to tighten the brace. Eli helped her. "Sorry," he whispered. "For what?" "For dragging you into this." She looked at him. "You didn't drag me. You saved me." Their eyes locked. Then her wristband flickered to life. Unexpectedly. A voice. Cold, familiar, speaking in her native tongue. To the one called Sayala. "You were marked defective. Your removal is necessary for purity. Do not resist." She froze. Eli didn't understand the words, but he saw her face pale. What did they say? They're sending my commander, she whispered. He was once my mentor. Now he comes to end me himself. She trembled, but not from fear alone. I have to face him. Eli shook his head. You can't fight like this. I must. You'll die. Then I'll die on my feet, not as a broken girl on the ground. Eli stared at her. Then, slowly, he pulled out a small device from his belt. A charge detonator. Low power, but enough to shake the walls. We give you a chance, he said. I'll draw them. You strike from behind. No, she said quickly. You'll be killed. He gave her a look. I didn't stay to run now. Her heart felt heavy. She had never been chosen, never been wanted, until this human. She touched his hand. Then we fight together. Minutes later, the hunters entered the lower ruins. Their metal boots echoed through the halls. A voice echoed behind them, calm and clear. The alien commander, tall, armored in bone-white gear with cold eyes behind a mask. I gave you chances, Saela, he said in her language. You were weak. You made others slow. Now, you'll be erased. From the shadows, Eli rose first, firing 3 shots. One hit a power unit, exploding the floor and blinding the squad. Sayla stepped out, limping but steady. She raised her alien blade, long forgotten, and shouted, I was never weak. You just feared what I could become. She struck the first. Hunter down with a quick slash. Eli covered her from behind, gunning down another. Smoke filled the air. Fire lit the walls. By the time the battle ended, 4 hunters were down. The rest fled. The commander was gone. For now. Saela stood in the ruins, shaking, breath-short, blood on her face. Eli walked to her side, gripping her shoulder. You did it, he said. I lived, she whispered. Not just survived. Lived. He smiled. Told you, you're worth saving. She touched the wound on his chest, and her heart trembled. The ruins were quiet again, but the silence felt wrong. Ash drifted through the broken halls like falling snow. The fire from the last fight still flickered faintly in the shadows. Burnt metal, blood, the scent of survival. Saela leaned against the cold wall, breathing hard. Her arm was cut, but it didn't matter. Her eyes kept searching for him. Then she saw Eli. He was down. He sat slumped against a pillar, hand pressed to his chest. His head was tilted, eyes half shut, lips pale. There was blood. Too much. It soaked through his shirt, just under his ribs. No, she whispered. She limped forward, faster than her legs should have allowed. She dropped beside him and grabbed his hand. It was still warm, but shaking. Eli. He opened his eyes, barely. Hey, still standing? Yes, but you're not, she cried. You didn't say you were hit. He gave a weak smile. Didn't want to ruin the moment. She tore open the fabric near his wound. Her hands trembled as she peeled away the blood-soaked cloth. The injury was deep. A long, jagged burn, plasma fire. It was close to his heart. Her people had used that weapon. Her hand hovered over his chest. She wasn't sure if she should touch, but she had to. She placed her palm gently on the wound, and her heart trembled, not just because of the blood, not just because of fear, but because she realized something. Something she had never felt before. Not in training, not in war, not in silence. She didn't want to lose him. She looked into his eyes and he looked back with the same truth. Even through pain, even through smoke and blood. I need to stop the bleeding, she said quickly. Hold on, Eli grunted. You're the one with the broken leg. Quiet, she said. I'm your medic now. She reached into his pack, found the sealant foam and pressed it into the wound. Eli groaned, biting his lip. She whispered something in her own language, something old. A word of protection her mother once said to her. Then she wrapped the wound tightly, checking. His pulse, slow but steady. Is it bad, he asked. Yes, she said, but you're alive, so now I get to yell at you later. He chuckled softly. Deal. They sat together for a while in the ruined hall. She held his hand. Not for survival, for connection. I killed my own kind today, she said after a long silence. Eli didn't answer. I thought I would feel empty, or broken again, but I didn't. What did you feel? Free. She stared into the firelight. All my life, I wanted to be chosen. I trained, obeyed, followed orders, and it was never enough. But today I chose. Eli looked at her. You chose to live. I chose you. The words hung in the air. Neither of them moved. Outside, the winds picked up. Ciela stood slowly and scanned the horizon through the shattered doorway. And then she saw them. Figures. Several. Moving silently in the dust. Not hunters, not soldiers, civilians, refugees. Some were alien like her. Others were human. All worn, tired, sick. Eli forced himself up. Who are they, I think? They followed the signal, Ciela said. You sent one out days ago. Some must have seen it. One woman stepped forward, an old alien with cracked skin and glowing eyes. She looked at Ciela and dropped to one knee. You are the defect they abandoned, the woman said. Ciela's chest tightened. I am. But you lived, the woman said. You fought back. I did. The woman stood. Then maybe you're not a defect. Maybe you're the first of something new. Ciela didn't know what to say. Eli leaned on her shoulder. What now? She looked at him, then back at the people gathering. Now, we build something different. Not war, not orders, something real. But first, she added, you need rest. He smiled. Only if you stay by my side. She nodded. I'm not going anywhere. But far in the distance, a ship hovered, watching. The alien commander was not finished, and he was not alone. The human carried her across the fire line, and the galaxy took notice. The wind tasted like ash and old fire. From the top of the cracked ridge, Ciela stared down at the valley below. Her eyes burned. Smoke twisted through the air like ghosts from the last battle. All around her the land was broken. Black stone, shattered tech, scorched trees. Behind her Eli coughed quietly, clutching his bandaged chest. He was weaker than before. The plasma wound slowed him. His body ached from the long night, but he said nothing. They both knew they couldn't stop now. The refugee group, 37 souls, waited in the shadow of the mountain ruins. Children, elders, wounded, alien, and human alike. None of them could survive another attack. And another was coming. Ciela felt it in her bones. They're watching us, she said, not turning around. Eli nodded. From above, 2 scout drones, maybe more. They'll report to the command ship, which means we don't have long. Ciela clenched her fists. Her brace had cracked again. Her leg was swollen. She had pushed herself too hard these last days, guiding the group from tunnel to tunnel, keeping everyone quiet and moving. Eli had carried the youngest ones, and her more than once. But now the path ahead was exposed. One valley. Open ground. No rocks, no trees, just flat, cracked earth with black glass streaks from orbital strikes. And on the far side, a safe house. An old rebel bunker built into the side of the cliffs. If they could reach it, they could hide. Call for help. Recover. If they could reach it. Ciela whispered. We won't make it across with so many injured. Eli was quiet. Then, he said, I'll draw their eyes. She turned sharply. No, you're still bleeding. He looked at her, calm but firm. Then they'll think I'm slow. Easy prey. That'll pull the hunters. You move the others while I distract them. You'll die. Maybe, he said, but they'll live. And you? No, she said louder. Her voice shook. We do it together. All of us. He looked at her again, and something in her face changed his mind. She was no longer The broken girl he found in the dirt. She was something more now. A leader. Sayela walked back to the group. They gathered in silence. Fear was everywhere, but so was trust. The way they looked at her, it reminded her of nothing she had ever known. Respect. Hope. She raised her voice, clear and strong. We must cross the fire line. Together. Gasps echoed. They will see us, someone whispered. They will fire, said another. Sayela nodded. Yes, but we will not fall, because we have each other. A small child, human, no more than 6, stepped forward and asked, Will you walk with us? Sayela dropped to one knee. I will carry you if I must. Eli stood beside her and raised his rifle. And I'll guard your backs with every last breath. The plan was simple. Move fast, keep low, run in groups, cover one another. The reality was brutal. Halfway across the fire line, the sky roared. Hunter's ship descended like a burning god. The ground exploded behind them. Dirt and metal flew into the air. Screams rose, but no one stopped running. Sayela's brace broke completely. She stumbled, fell, and then he was there. Eli scooped her up without a word. His face was covered in sweat and ash, but his grip was steady. He carried her through the fire, through bullets, through smoke, through everything. A drone turned to fire, and Sayela, still in Eli's arms, aimed his spare blaster and shot it from the sky. Another explosion shook the ground, but they kept moving, and then they crossed. The doors of the rebel bunker opened. The last group made it through. Eli collapsed to his knees, still holding her. Sayela pushed herself up, leaning against him, eyes wide with tears. Around them, the group cried out in joy and disbelief. They had made it. She turned to Eli. Why didn't you let me fall? She whispered. He met her eyes. Because if you fall, everything we're fighting for falls with you. Then, a beeping sound, a broadcast. Someone had recorded their escape. A drone, unknown, untagged, had watched it all. Now, across different systems, the footage was spreading. The broken alien girl, being carried by a human through fire. Blasting drones, saving lives, refusing to give up, and the human, bloodied and weak, refusing to let her go. It reached military channels, it reached black market comms, it even reached the command ship of the very alien commander who once called Sayela useless. He watched the video 3 times, then slammed his fist into the console. She's alive, he hissed, and now she's a symbol. He turned to his officers. Ready a full strike force. I want that girl brought to me, dead or broken again. But deep in the bunker, Sayela sat beside Eli holding his hand, and for the first time in her life she didn't feel hunted. She felt ready. The broken girl rose, and the galaxy wasn't ready. The bunker lights flickered low and red. Outside, the storm raged, not from weather but from war. The valley they had crossed was no longer safe. 5 ships circled above. Dozens of hunter drones patrolled the skies. An entire strike unit had landed in the west. They weren't just hunting rebels now. They were hunting her. Sayela stood in the command chamber of the old rebel bunker, her arms wrapped tightly around her body. The room smelled like rust, old tech, and sweat. Behind her, the survivors waited, watching. Silent Eli sat nearby, resting with one hand still pressed to his side. His wound had reopened after the crossing, but he refused to lie down. He said only one thing. If you go out there, don't go alone. She nodded. I won't. But this was something only she could face. The enemy wasn't hiding anymore. Her former commander, Kaylor Vryn, had sent a message. Come forward, Sayela. Show the galaxy what you've become. You have 1 hour, or we tear down your walls. It wasn't a request. It was a challenge. Sayela's breath shook. Her hands trembled. Not from fear, but from memory. Kaylor had trained her. He was the one who told her she wasn't enough. The one who marked her as defective and cast her aside. His voice still echoed in her mind. You were born weak. You will die weak. But something had changed. She was no longer the discarded girl on the ground. She looked at Eli. He gave her a faint nod. No words. Just trust. And that gave her strength. Outside, the bunker, the army waited. Lines of elite soldiers stood in formation. Their armor gleamed under the low alien sun. Drones hovered in the air like hungry birds. The flagship hovered above the cliffs, blocking out half the sky. In the center of the clearing stood Kalor. His white armor had not a single mark. His helmet had no face. His voice came out cold and clear from a speaker in his chest. Bring her. But no one brought her. She came on her own. Sayla stepped out of the bunker slowly, limping just slightly, her damaged legs still braced. She wore no armor, only a black cloak, torn at the edges. At her side, Eli, holding his rifle, breathing, hard but steady. The army murmured. A defect was supposed to crawl, not walk. Kalor stepped forward. His voice grew sharper. You survived. Impressive. But it changes nothing. Sayla stopped a few meters from him. Her voice came out calm. Too calm. You're right. It changes everything. A strange silence followed. She took one more step and then shouted loud enough for all to hear. You said I was weak, but I carried wounded children through storms. You said I was broken, but I stood when your hunters fell. You said no one would follow me. She turned and pointed to the bunker behind her. But they did. Not because I ordered them. Not because they feared me. But because I never left them behind. She looked him dead in the eye. Like you left me. Kalor's helmet shifted slightly. You were born to serve the code. You disobeyed it. I was born to feel, she said. You fear that. Your voice means nothing. Then why bring an army? He said nothing. She stepped forward again, one step from death, one breath from being vaporized, but she held her ground. I invoke ancient right, she shouted. Trial by survival. 1 against 1, no weapons, no drones. Gasps echoed across the crowd. Even Kalor stepped back half a pace. That code is dead, he snapped. But we are still alive, Sayla said. Or do you fear a girl you once abandoned? The silence was crushing. Kalor's hand twitched. His soldiers didn't move. Then slowly he stepped forward and removed his helmet. His face was scarred, cold, perfect in its cruelty. So be it. They cleared a circle of rock and dust. The duel began. He struck first, fast, hard, brutal. She dodged barely. Her old instincts kicked in. She moved like a dancer, limping but graceful. He grabbed her by the throat and slammed her down, but she did not cry out. She spat blood, rolled, kicked his knee, and pulled herself up again. Every time, he knocked her down. She rose again and again. Her people watched in disbelief. This was the girl they threw away? Kalor roared, rushing forward. She ducked under him, grabbed a stone, and struck his jaw with all her strength. He fell. For one heartbeat, the field went still. Then, cheers. Not from humans, from her own kind. Soldiers who once called her useless dropped to their knees. Kalor lay still. She stood over him, breathless, bloodied, eyes full of fire. I am Sayla, she said. Not your soldier, not your defect, just Sayla. Behind her, Eli struggled to his feet. She looked at him, and the galaxy watched as a broken girl rose. She was once left to die. Now she holds a human's hand before the stars. The battlefield was quiet, but not like before. This silence wasn't filled with ash and smoke. It wasn't heavy with fear. It was something else. It was respect. Sayla stood at the edge of the cliff, the wind catching her torn cloak. Her hair blew across her face, marked now with dirt, dried blood, and pride. She looked down at the valley below where the soldiers had once gathered to destroy her. Now many of them had bowed. Some had left their weapons in the dust and walked away. Others had stayed, watching, waiting. They didn't kneel out of fear. They watched because they no longer knew what they believed. The girl they had cast out had just defeated one of their strongest leaders in front of them, and she hadn't killed him. Kaelor Vryn still breathed, broken, unconscious, his pride shattered, more than his body. Saela had stepped away after the final blow, not because she couldn't finish him, but because she didn't need to. "I am not like you," she had whispered to him. Those words echoed still. Inside the rebel bunker, Eli sat against the wall, trying to smile through the pain. His wound had gotten worse. Even now he kept a shaky grip on his rifle. Saela returned to him. She dropped beside him, falling to her knees. Gently, she placed her hand over his. "I did it," she said. He looked at her face, then smiled. "Of course you did. I thought I would be afraid. Were you?" She shook her head. "I wasn't." Eli nodded slowly. "Then you're ready." "For what?" He reached into his coat and pulled out a tiny silver disc, an encoded beacon. It pulsed softly in the dim light. "I activated it before the duel," he said. "Help is coming. A ship from the Edge systems. A joint force. Human and alien. Ones who want change." She looked at the beacon, then at him. "You planned all this?" "No," he said with a laugh. "I just hoped." The next day the sky split open. A massive ship descended, quiet and slow. Unlike the hunter crafts, it did not roar. It did not threaten. It arrived. Its colors were not of one nation, but many. When the doors opened, dozens stepped out. Diplomats, peacekeepers, soldiers from both sides, human and alien. They came not with guns, but with open hands. Saela stood at the top of the bunker steps, holding Eli's hand tightly. The lead envoy, a tall woman in white robes, stepped forward. "You are Saela," she said. Saela nodded. "You are the girl who was left to die." She said nothing. "But you lived. You stood. You fought. And now, you have a choice." Saela's voice was clear. "What choice?" "Lead." The envoy looked around the field. "Your story is spreading through the stars. A defect who saved lives, a human who stayed when others ran. You gave people something they forgot existed." Saela's voice softened. "Hope." "Yes," the envoy said. "There are others like you, cast out, broken, afraid. They need someone to follow, someone to believe in." Eli tightened his grip on her hand. "You're not just a story anymore," he whispered. "You're a signal." Saela looked back at the crowd behind her, survivors, rebels, soldiers who had once pointed weapons at her, now watching with open eyes. And she realized something. She had no title, no army, no throne, but she had earned something far more powerful. Respect. She stepped forward. "I don't want power," she said to the envoy. "I don't want control." "What do you want?" the envoy asked. Saela smiled gently. "I want no one else to feel what I felt when they left me to die." The envoy nodded. "Then lead us forward, together." That night, under the stars, Saela stood on the command deck of the joint starship, her cloak clean, her body wrapped in healing gel, her head high. Eli stood beside her, arm still wrapped, but standing tall. The galaxy was watching. Screens across distant worlds now showed her face, not just the footage of her duel, but of her choosing mercy. Her story was translated in 50 languages. Alien children who had once believed strength came only through pain now whispered her name before sleeping. On a forgotten farming moon, a boy with a damaged spine whispered, "If she can lead, maybe I can walk." Across an old mining station, a group of defected soldiers refused an order to destroy refugees, choosing instead to defect fully. And in the farthest corners of the system, Kaelor Vryn's defeat became a myth. But Saela's rise became a movement. The quiet of the stars, Eli turned to her. "Do you ever think about that day? The mud, the battlefield, when I found you?" She smiled. "Every day." "What would have happened?" if I had just walked away. She didn't answer right away. Then softly she said, I would have died. He nodded. But I didn't, she added. No, he said. You didn't. She looked down at their hands, still joined. I was once left to die, she whispered. Now I lead with a human beside me. Eli smiled. And the galaxy? Selah turned to the stars. Let it watch.